You want me to sing? We want to welcome you to the 2018 October Know Your Candidates Forum. This is our second night. We had so many candidates for office that we decided to split it into two nights. Last night were your city council and mayor races, and tonight are your state and county races. Last night we had 35 candidates, and it took us about 4 hours. We thank everybody for their patience. Tonight we have about 18 candidates, so we're hoping we cut the time in half. We'll try to speed it along. Tonight is sponsored by the Grant County News and the Grant County Chamber of Commerce. I'm Jamie Baker, Executive Director of the Grant County Chamber, Economic Development and Tourism, and I'll be serving as your moderator this evening. We have a message tonight from Ms. Tabitha Clemens, our County Clerk.
Thank you, Jamie. I first want to thank the organizers of the Meet the Candidates Forum for offering this for our community. The 2018 general election is Tuesday, November 6th. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you do not know where your voting location is, please visit our website at grantcountyclerk.org so you can find your voting location. There's also a sample ballot on our website if you'd like to look at that before Election Day. If you'd like to call our office and find out where to vote, you're welcome to do that. Our phone number is 859-824-3321, and you can select option 4. If you need an absentee ballot, in-office absentee voting is happening now through November 5th. Any person who will be out of the county on Election Day or due to age, disability, or illness is welcome to vote in-house absentee. Our office is open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. until noon. If you'd like to receive a mail-in absentee ballot, please be sure to submit your request no later than October 30th, required by Kentucky state law. And again, people can call our office to request those ballots or visit our website. The Grant County Board of Elections will have election results scrolling in our waiting room of the county clerk's office at the close of polls on election night. The results will also be available on our website, grantcountyclerk.org, or on our Facebook. Just search Grant County Clerk's Office. We are grateful to the Grant County and Williamstown school districts, the City of Corinth, the Mount Zion Firehouse, which is operated by the Dry Ridge Fire Department, for their use of their facilities on Election Day. I want to thank our dedicated precinct election officers, several who are here this evening, the Board of Election members who's here this evening, clerks, and of course the Grant County Road Department for all of their assistance with Election Day. So last night I challenged many of you who were here to talk to 3 other people to encourage them to vote this election. And I want to share with you, the last 2 days I've spent time in both Williamstown and Grant County High School holding mock elections for our high school students to encourage them to be involved in the process, and so they understand how to mark their ballot and slide it in the machine when they're voting on a paper. School percent turnout for our students. That's something that we don't have in our own community. So I encourage you, please make sure to talk to your friends, your family. If they don't have a way to get to the polls, encourage them to ride with you. Let's show the rest of the state of Kentucky that we want to turn out people in our community so that we have a say in who our elected officials are. So thank you so much, and I look forward to this evening.
And I'll remind the audience, tonight is a forum. It is not a debate, so the candidates have been instructed that they are to answer the questions asked of them and direct those responses either to myself or to you all, the voters. So they're not to debate each other. We do want to start off tonight by recognizing our unopposed candidates. I believe some of them are with us, and if you'll just stand so people can see that you're here. Jailer Mike Webster, County Clerk Tabitha Clemens, Circuit Clerk Ray-Jean Jump, Coroner Mark Jump, Commonwealth Attorney James Crawford, Constable 1st District Patrick Michael Stanley, Constable 3rd District Danny Sanders, District Judge 15th District 1st Division Elizabeth Chandler, District Judge 15th District 2nd Division Thomas Funk, Grant County School Board 1st District Charlotte Schmidt, Grant County School Board 3rd District Lisa Smith, Williamstown Independent School Board, Jeff Dunaway, Roy Osborne, and Chris Spivey. Roy's back there with the Williamstown Cable Department. Corinth Mayor, Amy Lingle. Corinth City Commission, Deanna Caldwell, Barbara New, Darren Billiter, and Vicki Wolf. And they are all unopposed candidates who will maybe be on the ballot, but they are moving on and will be your new elected officials starting in January. We're going to get started tonight with the PVA candidates, and we have two, Mr. Eli Anderson and Ms. Angela McLafferty. Welcome to the stage. Candidates, you'll have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. Mr. Anderson, we'll start with you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I first would like to start saying a couple of thank yous for the people that make this forum what it is. Thank you all so much for Jamie, the Chamber, the Grant County News, and most importantly, Williamstown Schools for hosting and conducting this. Thank you all so much for Williamstown Cable, Dry Ridge Cable for making this successful to voters that can't be here tonight. And most importantly, and certainly not least, for you all for here being in attendance. Thank you all for being engaged and informed. For those of you all that don't know me, my name is Eli Anderson. I'm the Republican candidate for Grant County Property Valuation Administrator, or you'll most likely hear this called PVA during the rest of this forum. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was the youngest of 3 siblings. We grew up on a farm in Corinth. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, Mackenzie, and in April, we just had our firstborn, Baylor. I currently work for Cengage Learning in Independence. But what makes me qualified to run for PVA is I have an associate's degree in business management from Gateway Community and Technical College. I have a bachelor's degree in organizational leadership from Northern Kentucky University. I also have property and casualty insurance with the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I also, excuse me, I also had the pleasure of serving the citizens in the Grant County Tax Appeals Board for the last 3 years. I did have to resign in January to be able to run for PVA. If you have any questions or concerns that aren't asked during this forum, please feel free to give me a call. I want to be accessible to you. My telephone number is 859-462-0890. Thank you.
Ms. McLafferty, you have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
Good evening. I'm Angela Colson McLafferty. I'm married to Patrick. I have 2 children, Cody McLafferty, his wife Katie, Ashley Cochran, and her husband Gary, and have 5 really awesome grandkids. We all reside in Grant County. I've been your property valuation administrator for the past 16 years. In that time, I have taken the office from paper maps to digitized maps. My office has scanned all the deeds and the plats that are filed in the county clerk's office, which most PVA offices do not have, and I've also implemented one of the top PVA websites in the state. The job of property valuation administrator is to assess your property at fair market value. For instance, if there are similar houses on the street, one sells for $120,000, then the other houses are most likely worth $112,000 to $115,000. This is fair market value, which is what the state of Kentucky mandates my job to do. It's not an option. It's KRS that states if the property valuation administrator does not perform their job in assessing property at 100% full market value, then they can be removed and the state of Kentucky will take over. Trust me, you don't want this to happen. The most important job of the property valuation administrator is to treat everyone fairly and with respect, and my office has always done this. I'd appreciate your vote November the 6th. Thank you.
We'll get started with our first question. Mr. Anderson, this is for you. Being a less visible elected office, how much do you believe most residents know about the role of the PVA, and in what ways do you propose to change that lack of knowledge in the community?
Well, to answer your question, Jamie, not that the general public doesn't know anything, but they know very little. It's been 16 years since we've had a race for this office. And it's not that people don't know, it's because we don't run every 4 years. First, you must pass a test, which generally is held the year before the election, so it kind of holds back some of the candidates that could possibly run. But secondly, not only after you pass the test, you have to do it at least 70%. This is run by the Department of Revenue, where the pass or fail rate is typically 20%. So very few pass this test. But also, as I've been campaigning, and I really call it more of a listening tour across the county, it's more or less you have to educate and inform. And that's why one of my big platforms is open up the office. That means we need to hold town halls. We need to hold informational clinics. And I'm happy that my opponent updated her website to make it more user-friendly within the last month, because we need that. We need videos, how-to videos, just like Paul O'Neill in Fayette County has, and he's the model PVA's office. Thank you.
Ms. McLafferty, same question. How much do you believe most residents know about the role of the PVA, and in what ways do you propose to change or move it forward, or that you have already done to change that lack of knowledge in the community?
Well, I do believe that there's some things that they don't know. I send out letters every year to people that I assist. I try to explain to them about what you do if you disagree. If you turn 65, I send you out letters for you to sign to mail back to me. Disability, I also put that on the letters. Meetings, I don't believe people would come to. It's like some of the, whenever the school board meetings, I was there and one other person was there. The year before that, there was a few people that showed, but people are busy. I don't believe they would come to meetings. I did start a Facebook page, trying to just kind of put it out there, different things that we do. I'm always open to suggestions. Anytime you have anything that you think would work, please come see me. Let me know. I'll be glad to implement it.
Second question, and we'll start with you, Ms. McLafferty. What would you say to a resident who disagreed with his or her property evaluation? How would you handle that?
That does happen. I tell them to bring in any kind of pictures that I can't see, because we can only see the outside. So if something's wrong on the inside, we have no way of knowing. Also, I show them sales that's happened in the area, and that's what it's based on, sales. And we usually come to an agreement. The past 3 years, he was on the assessment board, but I've only had one person to appeal. And that was a bank-owned property, which is a whole new ballgame.
Okay. Mr. Anderson, what would you say to a resident who disagreed with his or her property evaluation if you were elected?
Well, first of all, I would listen first. I want to see where they're coming up with their assessment. And the second thing is I would open up everything that we have. Now, technically, the state says that you can have a conference, but I would go ahead and present everything for them. I would say, let's get in my vehicle, let's drive to your residence, and let's take a look. If there's any way that we can lower it down, yes, we have to be at 100% fair market value, but let's take a look. There's some things that we just can't see from a physical inspection from the outside of a home. So let's take a look. But also, I'm going to let them know the path that they can actually appeal their assessment. And if they go to the tax appeals board and they rule in their favor, I'm going to be clapping for them. I'm going to be there supporting them. And then I'm going to say, if you don't like what they did there, so if the tax appeals board rules against them, here's how we go to the state. And I'm going to be cheering them on, because we need to keep this as low as fairly possible to help you, the taxpayer. And that's what I'm here for. And that's why I want to open up the office, let you know the route that you can possibly take. Thank you, Jamie.
Okay. Ms. McLafferty? No, I'm sorry, Mr. Anderson. We'll start the next question with you. Why do you feel the VA's office is vital, and why is this a position you wanted to run for?
Well, I believe that there's two parts to the question. I believe it's vital because it touches everything. Every piece of property that is not exempted by the Kentucky State Constitution is up for taxation by the PVA's office. And the reason why I'm running is because now more than ever, we need a taxpayer guardian. If you look at the last 2 years, we had a payroll put in place on the workers of Grant County. We had a 911 fee of $25 assessed on every property unless you have more than 3 pieces of property. And the school board raised tax rates. And what really hurts people the most is when they don't see it coming. As Angie alluded to, people don't go to the board meetings. That's why we need to bring awareness. We need to educate them. We don't want October surprises when it comes to their property when they receive their tax slip in the mail. We need to be out front. We need to let them know, because people on a fixed income, when the school board raised tax rates, oh my goodness, they didn't see it coming. If you have medical prescriptions that cost you over $100 and all of a sudden you got to pay $500 more, we need to let them know about this way earlier than that. Thank you, Jamie.
Okay. Ms. McLafferty, why do you feel the PVA's office is vital, and why is this a position you want to be reelected to?
I worked this office for 16 years. I have done a good job. I've helped people out there. We help them as much as we possibly can. We inform people when their property does raise assessment letters. As far as the taxing districts, we have absolutely no control over those. We have ran things on Facebook of when they have gotten ready to go to the meetings so that you all would be informed, that you all could be there. There were several people that went to the fiscal court meetings when they was talking about the payroll tax. I think people are informed. But yes, I would like to keep this position because I do feel that I have helped several people.
Thank you, candidates. We'll move into the closing statements. Ms. McLafferty, you have 2 minutes to make your closing statement.
I want to thank each of you for coming out tonight. Mr. Anderson is saying that he can lower all assessments, more or less control the amount of property taxes you pay by lowering assessments if the taxing districts raises their tax rates. Telling you that can't happen. We have to have it at 100% value. Yes, I can go out and look at your property, and I have went out and looked at several of your properties. You've invited me in the houses. We always talk it over. Some of the other, if you think that just because the taxing districts raises the tax rates, then that we can drop the assessments, that's not true. We have to have it at 100% fair market value. This is mandated by the state. We don't have a choice. And I would like to add one more thing. My job required me to raise 1/4 of the county this year, and I did. And I assure you, this is not something that anyone would do if they was running for election. It's never mattered when you walked into my office, whether you were Republican, Democrat, Independent, or if you didn't vote at all. We have always tried our best to help you when you call or walk into our office. I ask the same of you tonight. It shouldn't matter what party, myself, or any other candidate is. Find out the facts about this. Vote for the person that you believe can do the best job. So on November the 6th, I ask you to vote for me, Angela McLafferty. Thank you, and God bless you.
Mr. Anderson, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you, Jamie. I'd like to just thank everybody for coming out here tonight. And again, thank Williamstown Schools for hosting this, and Jamie and the Chamber and the Grant County News for helping conduct this. But now more than ever, we need a taxpayer guardian. Like I said before, you know, I'm not saying that I can just lower assessments willy-nilly. What I'm saying is before that assessment goes anywhere, I'm going to be looking at it. And if I have to raise assessments, not only am I going to send you a letter around April 15th, but I'm going to come to your door and tell you why. And I'm going to tell you, you have 13 days beginning on the first Monday in May to legally appeal yours. And this is about building knowledge. I'm not saying I can't break state law. I can't break state law. If you break state law, you're going to jail. But what I'm saying is we need somebody, because the property owners in this county is paying the burden of the taxes. Until we get industry, until Grant County grows and flourishes, like I think we can be, until we get to that point, we need a PVA that's going to stand up for you. That's going to show you the path to legally lower your assessment. That's what I'm saying. We need to open up the office longer, not only from 8 to 4 during the week. I mean, banks aren't open those hours. We need to be open 8 to 5. We need to be open every Saturday to make sure that you have the opportunity to come and talk to us. I'm not going to say like they did in the Grant County News article 2 weeks ago and say that's impractical to have longer hours. I want to work for you. I want to let you know what you can do. And I ask for your vote and support on November 6th to help me do that. Thank you.
Voters, you will be choosing between one of these 2 candidates for your next property evaluation administrator. Thank you, candidates, for being with us. See you. Our next candidates are for the U.S. Representative in the 4th District. We have Mr. Seth Hall and Mike Moffitt. Welcome, gentlemen. We will get started with your opening statements. Mr. Hall, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes to make an opening statement.
Good evening, Grant County. My name is Seth Hall. I'm from Henry County, Kentucky. Born and raised there. My dad's a farmer, and I've worked in healthcare for 30 years. And I'm showing up here tonight because my opponent is not. This campaign's about a lot to me. I personally got involved. I've never run for office before because I wanted to make a difference in our country. I want to do more than just sit in an isolated farm in Lewis County and not show up to people's events throughout the district. I'm here to help make a difference in Washington, D.C. I've studied politics all my life. I'm the chairman of the Democratic Party in Oldham County, and I want to make a difference. Healthcare is one of the big topics that I want to work on to reduce the premiums and prop up the Affordable Care Act. Also, I want to work on infrastructure. We got to get our roads improved and put a bridge. The Brent Spence Bridge needs to be replaced, and other bridges across our district need to be replaced. And then also, want to work on education. One of the top priorities will be putting teachers back into Social Security and give them their survivor benefits back, because our teachers are our most important asset, because they're training our most important asset. And I appreciate your vote November 6th.
Mr. Moffitt, you have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
Good evening, thank you. I'm a resident of Kenton County, Erlanger, Kentucky. I'm married to Sherry Jackson Moffitt. I have 7 children, 15 grandchildren. I have 2 sons that graduated from Grant County, one in 2010, one in 2011. One attended the University of Louisville and studied political science, and he's now works at a law firm in San Francisco, California. The other son, my youngest, he graduated from the University of Kentucky in civil engineering, and he is now a lieutenant in the United States Air Force, now serving in Turkey. I have 50 years of engineering manufacturing experience in union and non-union plants. I'm a member of Seven Hills Church in Florence, Kentucky. I'm an independent candidate, and I want to make a difference in Washington for citizens of Kentucky in the 4th District. As an independent, I will be working with members from both sides of the aisle to address the issues that we face today and preparing for the challenges of tomorrow without special interest groups or the change of political parties holding me back. My top priorities are education, Social Security, raising the minimum wage, healthcare, Medicare, infrastructure, and fiscal deficit. Also, affordable housing.
Thank you, sir. First question, we'll start with Seth Hall. In what ways can the federal government help in the fight against opioid addiction that has ravaged the country and in particularly Kentucky?
We can work to include and make sure that we have available healthcare resources throughout the district to tackle the opioid addiction. Also want to work on legalization of medical cannabis and provide for our farmers the industrial hemp in the district. I think opening up for the Accountable Care Act and the Affordable Care Act, the issue of adding social workers and counselors into our healthcare and reducing our premiums will be a big step forward in tackling that problem.
Mr. Moffett, in what ways can the federal government help in the fight against opioid addiction that has ravaged the country and in particularly Kentucky?
Well, we know this is a big problem throughout the United States. Federal government has just passed a bill to help support of people who are on heroin and opioids. What we need to do there is make sure that money is funneled to the right places. I believe that we should have the healthcare facilities available for the support to help these people who are addicted to the drugs. Incarceration isn't going to work. There's no way. We have to give them support. With support, we also have to help them detox. Also, we have to have them help them find jobs. So once they are out, we can support them with themselves and we can help with support groups. I believe Narcan ought to be available throughout, and we need to have medical facilities through our first responders to have it and the equipment available to them to help in that case.
Thank you. Mr. Moffett, this question is for you. How would you assess the current state of the U.S. economy, and in what ways do you believe it can be improved?
Well, that's good. The economy right now seems to be going very well, but the incomes are really not keeping up with inflation and the costs of healthcare and other things. I believe that what we could do and should do is we gave the tax cuts to the large corporation that now they can afford to give back, which I believe in minimum wage raises. Through minimum wage raises, we can bring people out of poverty. We can also, they will also be able to now become part of the tax-paying base people, which will help. In the long run, I foresee that this is probably one of the key factors to supplying a living wage for everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Hall, how would you assess the current state of the U.S. economy, and in what ways do you believe it can be improved?
Well, the current state of the economy after this week could be heading towards 2007. Since the stock market took a dramatic decrease and has set us back to Dow Jones levels back in 2011. So probably our 401ks have taken a significant hit through this downsizing of the economy. I personally don't think that our wages are keeping up with our inflation. We need to bring back union benefits and union jobs to America. We've got to have someone that leverages against big business. As we make business bigger, then people have to have some type of leverage in order to get a better salary. And the prevailing wage is one way to do that. It raises everybody's salary. When I was a government contractor and I contracted for labor throughout the United States, I had to pay the labor at the prevailing wage. So, and we weren't union. So I think we can do a lot more for the economy. Thank you.
Mr. Hall, this question is for you. Should Congress pass further restrictions on guns, or should there be other measures at schools to prevent mass shootings?
Well, I'm the Democratic nominee for the 4th District, and I'm not taking anybody's guns. So we'll get that on the table right now. But, you know, we can have some common sense gun control that we can watch so we don't have bump stocks and and high-speed weapons that are military grade out there shooting up our citizens. But our schools could be secured better. And Oldham County's taken some approaches to that, more cameras. Private schools have taken these approaches, key card systems, just like we have at work to get in to schools, and then also counselors, resource officers in our schools. I think will be a good way to move forward in protecting our children.
Mr. Moffett, should Congress pass further restrictions on guns, or should there be other measures at schools to prevent mass shootings?
No, there should be no more gun laws. We have no gun laws. I'm a constitutional person. I believe we have the right to arm ourselves, but we have to have the right safety features in our schools, which I can believe with Mr. Hall and quite a few of the safety features. We also could eliminate schools only having one entrance way into it. I don't feel that arming teachers is the right way about it. And to me, I don't know. When I was in school, which was quite a while ago, it wouldn't take long to know which teacher has a gun anyway. So, and then Mr. Massey also wants to make gun-free zones, and that's a big mistake, especially when he wants to arm 18-year-olds with pistols, a lot of them. I could see our schools running around with 18-year-olds with pistols, and everybody in the school would be armed. I don't think that's the right way to protect our children in schools, but I'm not for any more restrictions on gun control.
Okay. One last question, Mr. Moffett or Mr. Hall, we'll start with you with this one. What is the number one challenge our country faces, and how would you address it?
Well, there's so many challenges. I don't know where to start, really. I think the biggest challenge that we have is to bring America back together. We have become tribes in fighting each other. And even within our own communities, we've divided ourselves between Republican and Democrat, white and black, and gay, straight. We need to work towards bringing us back as one big tribe, as the American tribe. That's where we need to really focus. We're not about hatred. We're a better people than that. We need to work towards being a better people. And I think with that, we can build a better America. Thank you.
Mr. Moffett, what is the number one challenge you believe our country faces, and how would you address it?
I believe it's Washington the way it is right now. Washington, it seems to be just a two-party fight, sending people there with no chance of compromise. We send representatives, Republican, Democrats, who have to pay their way to get on committee, or else they sit around and do nothing. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of simple things that we can do in this country immediately to make big changes. I mean, just simple laws, fair check, paycheck law, which entitles women get paid the same as men for doing the same job. There's so much fighting going on that we have to go to Washington and be able to work both sides of the aisle and work for compromise. Without this, we're just in gridlock. We've given now the president more power than I believe he deserves to use. With the gridlock, the president now is using executive privilege to pass every law he wants to, which should not be. Congress is for making the laws.
Thank you. We'll move into closing statements, and Mr. Moffett, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Well, I envision the role of U.S. member of Congress from Kentucky as being one that puts the community before party. being a voice for people and standing up for what is right. 25% of people in Kentucky live in poverty. There was over 500,000 people signed up for the Affordable Care Act. I would work both sides of the aisle to correct the wrongs posed by representatives who are professional politicians backed by large industries, banks, Wall Streets, and unions. I would work for Kentucky to bring affordable health care, increase funding for infrastructure, lower prescription drugs, raise the minimum wage, and secure Social Security. I support clean air and water and renewable energy. I support teachers, education, and House Bill HR 6080, which Mr. Hawks knows very well what that is. By electing me, Commonwealth, we finally have an independent voice who works to put Kentucky before politics. District 4 has the greatest potential of any district in the state. In Grant County, with possible endless growth, with the right leadership, possibilities are endless. And I ask for your support on November 6th. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hall, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for having me here tonight. I very much appreciate it. I love Grant County. They carried me in the primary to the final round. You know, I got in this race because I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm mad as hell, and we need a better government. We got people up there, greedy people that are taking from our pockets, and they need to be replaced. You just don't go up there and they got a salary of $174,000, but they come out millionaires. That just doesn't happen on that kind of salary, and they need to be replaced. And that's why I'm running. My son was adopted from Guatemala, and when Trump was elected, there was a ruckus in the high school that they were saying, build the wall and deport my child. And my child's an American citizen. And I'm running because of him, because I'm not going to let this country turn into the values, or destroy the American values that we had in order to protect these immigrants. We've got to do something about that. And that's why I'm running. I'll take care of many other things. I work hard. I'm a farmer. My father has been a farmer for several years. He worked in the unions at the Indiana ammunition plant. My mother worked as a bank executive. I attended University of Kentucky and also the University School of Law. I know what it takes, and I worked in government to get the job done, and I'll work hard to do that and deliver for you if you elect me. And I appreciate your vote November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for being here tonight. Voters will be choosing between 3 candidates, these 2, and also Republican Thomas Massie. So thank you all for being here. Our next race is for state representative in the 61st district. We have 2 candidates, Savannah Maddox and Darrell Link. Right, candidates, you'll have 2 minutes to make your opening statement. Ms. Maddox, we'll start with you.
All right. First of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight, as well as the Grant County News and Grant County Chamber of Commerce, and Jamie for moderating. And this is a fantastic service for our community, so you guys can get to know a little bit more about ourselves and where we stand. I am Savannah Maddox, and I'm running for state representative of the 61st district because it's clear to me that Kentucky is at a crossroads. Like so many people that I've spoken with in the 61st, I am concerned with how liberal our society has gotten and how we seem to have lost touch with so many of the values and principles that once united us. I am concerned, and I think that there are so many things worth fighting for in Frankfort. I'm the only candidate who is 100% pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, endorsed by the NRA, as well as the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce and Kentucky Right to Life, and I will stand strong for our Kentucky values. I'm a lifelong resident of the 61st District and sixth-generation Grant Countyan, and I have a vested interest in securing a promising future for this district and the Commonwealth. I graduated from Williamstown, right here on the backside of this stage, and then from Northern Kentucky University with degrees in both history and political science. I currently serve as chair of the Grant County Republican Party. I'm a member of the Grant County Chamber of Commerce, Grant County Historical Society, and my family and I attend Family Bible Church in Williamstown. My husband Eldon and I have been married for 10 years, and we live on a farm in Dry Ridge where we are raising our 2 children to benefit from being part of the same community that we have known and loved. We must restore a tone of civility and statesmanship in addressing the issues that we face as a Commonwealth, namely the $44 billion unfunded pension liability that is looming above our heads and will impact future generations. Our hardworking families cannot afford to revert back to the failed liberal policies that have set our
Thank
state
you.
behind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Link, you have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
Good evening. My name is Darrell Link. It's good to be with you here this evening. Certainly, you've probably read a lot of information about me. You probably know all about me at this point. You're probably tired of hearing about me. I know I am. I'm in this race because it's about you. It's about you because our governor wants to take us to a place that is foreign to all of us. He's not from Kentucky. He doesn't have Kentucky values. He wants to pass a consumption tax, a tax that will, comparable to Tennessee, who has 9.5 cents tax. Here in Kentucky, the Kentucky Economic Center for Policy said it would be 16.5 cents. That's what we would pay on everything that we buy, purchase, services. It's extremely difficult on senior citizens. So I'm fighting for senior citizens. I'm fighting to ensure that you don't have to pay that unfair tax. I'm fighting for the young people who have been exempt on the first $5,000 and now they're taxed. So there's a huge tax shift going on that our governor and Mr. Thayer wants to put on. It needs to be stopped. And then the other fight is with education. Education is important, public education. But yet they're trying to dismantle public education in Frankfort right now. You see it at every place that you go. We need to change that. We need to fight for public education. We need to fight for our teachers. We can stabilize this pension crisis. We intend to do that. I'll put on my boxing gloves and go fight for you. Thank you.
First question, Ms. Maddox, this one's for you. What would be your top 2 priorities if elected to represent Grant County?
The first thing that we need to focus on is to attract industry to the 61st District, which is only something that we can accomplish if we make an environment in the state of Kentucky that will allow businesses, small and large alike, to flourish. Deregulation is something that has been very effective in encouraging corporations to locate here. But as far as the tax program that was recently just alluded to here a few moments ago, in all reality, moving away from a production-based tax model toward consumption is the way that we will not only be able to achieve fiscal solvency and generate more revenue for our budgetary woes, but to attract industries to Kentucky. Because no one is suggesting that we do away with the income tax. Lowering it to 3% and adjusting our consumption taxes, i.e. sales tax, et cetera, will allow for us to catch the revenue, to close some of the loopholes that currently exist. And that will allow us to attract industry. And also, we have to make sure that here in the 61st and in Grant County in particular, that we are keeping up with infrastructure, because businesses will not come here if we do not have the infrastructure that they need to successfully operate. Thank you.
Mr. Link, what would be your top 2 priorities if elected to represent Grant County?
Well, the top priority certainly is correcting the budget. We have a budget deficit currently. Right now, our budget is about $10 billion a year, but yet we give away 12 to 13 billion in tax exemptions to corporations and CEOs. That needs to be corrected. The tax reform that they just did in this last session, they They've shifted taxes away from CEOs and corporations. They shifted again toward working people, working families like you and me who go to work every day. You know, you go to the veterinarian now, you take your dog and cat, you're taxed. You go to the dry cleaners, you're taxed. You pay for landscaping services, you're taxed. That's a shift in the wrong way. But yet people that make $250,000 or more, let that register, $250,000 more, and the average is $750,000, they got a tax break. Their rate that they pay is 6.5%. The rate that you and I pay, 10 and 11%. That needs to be changed. Yes, our infrastructure is in disrepair. We need to change that, but we're going to have to correct this budget deficit so that we can correct all these things. We need to invest in Kentuckians. I don't want to invest in corporations. They do well on their own. They have abundant resources. They don't need a representative in Frankfort. You need a representative.
Mr. Link? No. Okay. Mr. Link, this question will be for you. Do you support the legalization of marijuana for recreational or medicinal purposes? Why or why not?
I do support the legalization of marijuana for medicinal purposes only. I think that 30 states have already legalized it in the United States. It would be particularly helpful for folks that unfortunately have cancer. It would be extremely helpful that the doctor could provide that as a resource for those that have afflictions and have seizures of different kind, and for servicemen come home that are battling PTSD. It would be administered by doctors, and so I would be in support of medicinally marijuana.
Recreational?
I would not.
Okay.
Not at this point. I would have to see a bill, but I don't see any reason that we should pursue that.
Okay.
Ms. Nance.
Ms. Maddox, do you support the legalization of marijuana for recreational or medicinal purposes? Why or why not?
I do not support legalization for recreational purposes, but as far as medical marijuana, yes, we do need to keep an open mind. Anything that has the capability to possibly ameliorate human suffering among those who have chronic health conditions, we need to be able to allow for that. That said, we have to be very diligent in making sure that the proper regulations are in place to make sure that we are doing this in a way that is beneficial for Kentuckians and not something that could potentially be harmful in the long term.
Okay. Ms. Maddox, this question's for you. Why are you either in support of or against the pension bill passed last legislative session, and in what ways does it need to be improved or changed?
With an unfunded pension liability in excess of $44 billion, our legislature had to do something to address this. It is one of the biggest problems that we have faced in decades in this state, but Kentucky is not alone in our pension problem. Across the nation, there is a $7 trillion unfunded pension liability among state and municipal retirement systems, and that's the equivalent of Germany's entire GDP. The way that we passed SB 151 HCS is problematic, in my opinion. Even if there was prior precedent to having done that way, we need to make sure that we are addressing this in a way that is transparent, honest, and open. But I will say that I'm very glad that my opponent is finally acknowledging that there actually is a pension crisis, because in Kenton County last week and Scott County before it, he called it a manufactured crisis. And frankly, I think that with preying upon the legitimate fears of our educators in this community and then turning around and saying that there isn't even a pension crisis is disingenuous. And that's the kind of retrograde thinking that got us into this situation to begin with. We have to fix it. We owe it to our teachers, and I do stand with them. Thank you.
Mr. Link, why are you either in support of or against the pension bill passed last legislative session, and in what ways does it need to be improved or changed?
Well, I'm not in support of the pension bill that was passed. I am against the pension bill that was passed, and I would still say this evening that it's a manufactured crisis. They just reformed pension in 2013. And so the actuaries looked at it, the attorneys looked at it, they reset the table. It's like going to the bank and refinancing your home. And so it was reset, and it will pay for itself in 30 years. What has to happen? The thing that has to happen with Frankfort is they have to step up and meet their obligation and meet their promises. We did it at the county level. It was done at the city level, and it can be funded. It should be funded. They even put in their reform that they must fund it and follow their own KRS. And so that's what has to take place. The circuit judge has already thrown it out. So now it's at the Supreme Court, and I imagine they will rule it unconstitutional as well. So we as lawmakers don't go over there to support things that are unconstitutional. We don't go over there to do things in the middle of the night. We need to stand up and fight for those that have paid into their pension system, whether it be teachers, public workers, firemen, policemen, whomever. We need to fight for them.
Mr. Link, this question's for you. What do you see as Kentucky's biggest asset, and what is the state's biggest challenge?
Well, the largest asset that we have, and I indicated this earlier, our greatest asset in this state is the fact that we have good, hardworking people. We have people that get up every day and they just want to improve their lives. Parents want to see their children do better than them. And how are we going to do that? You know, the great equalizer is education. We have to ensure that every child has access to public education. And we have to have teachers that are dedicated like they are to go in there and to assist them and help them to do better. And so where does it start? You know, it starts with leadership. Leadership can't go over there and say horrible things about the people that they're representing. They need to go over there and work for all those in Kentucky. We need to invest in Kentuckians. We need to invest in you. We need to invest in education. They have cut back at public universities 6.5% since 2008. So over the course of 10 years. Now, you can imagine the cost, the tuition cost that is elevated, that has gone up as a result. And so it's getting more and more difficult for young students to have access to public universities. That all needs to be corrected. I'm going to invest in Kentuckians.
Okay. Ms. Maddox, what do you see as Kentucky's biggest asset, and what is the state's biggest challenge?
Goes without saying that our biggest asset is our people. That said, our biggest challenge is the antiquated tax system that so much attention has been brought here tonight. I mean, Kentucky's gross state product is 30% below the national average, which is makes us 44th in the nation. We know that we have long been a recipient of federal dollars. So not only is our pension insolvent, but we have some major budgetary issues that we have to address, which includes generating more revenue for the future, because education, infrastructure, all of these things that we're talking about, they require funds to be able to do that. So that is our biggest liability currently. Our per capita GDP growth, for example, in Kentucky is only $129 per person, whereas in Tennessee, it's $1,090, and Indiana, it's $2,038. What do those two states have in common? They have begun to move away from production-based tax models and towards consumption. It's a fairer way to assess. It gives you more individual liberty in determining how you're assessed, and it will put Kentucky back on the path to prosperity. 16% is an outright lie. Thank you.
Mr. Link? We'll move into closing statements. You have 2 minutes to make a closing statement.
Well, once again, I thank you for the opportunity to be here. Everything that we said is true. We need to invest in Kentuckians. We need to invest in your education. We need to invest in your health care. You know what the governor did in regard to our health care and took that away from so many people that were living marginally was horrible. And in regard to this production into this tax system that Savannah and the governor and Thayer want to move to, I don't get up and make the choice every day to whether I'm going to buy a boat or a huge luxury car. You know, I'm paying for things that are necessary, like insurance, like my heating bill, my heating oil, things of that nature, shoes for my kids, food. These are all the things that we pay for from week to week, and other struggling families do as well, as they also live week to week. And so we do need to improve our pay in Kentucky. You know, if we lag anywhere behind, it's working people in Kentucky on average make $38,000 a year. That's what needs to be moved up. Those are what we focus on. If we're going to bring in jobs, let's bring in good jobs, jobs that will elevate Kentuckians.
Ms. Maddox, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
I would like to thank each of you again for coming here tonight and hearing this. And as you are making your decisions in the 12 days that we have left leading up to November 6th, I would like to let you know that I have knocked on thousands of doors, walked hundreds of miles to talk to people about the issues that matter to them. The 61st District in Grant County is where I call my home, where I'm raising my children, and where we have put a stake in the ground. I will be dedicated, if I'm elected, to ensuring that your voices are heard loud and clear concerning all the pivotal issues that we face in the community. But I want you to remember tonight, every seat in the State House, we're either one step forward or one step back from protecting the sanctity of life and giving voice to those who cannot speak for themselves. With every seat in the State House, we're either one step forward or two steps back from protecting our Second Amendment rights and our individual liberties. And lastly, with every seat in the State House, we're either one step forward or two steps back from achieving greater economic growth. If I'm elected, I will read the bills, I will explain my votes, and I will always bear in mind the consent of the governed, which is the basis for our governmental system. I'm not running for this office because I need a job. I want the opportunity to represent you and your values in Frankfort. My name is Savannah Maddox. I would ask for your vote on November 6th, and I would like to remind you that endorsements mean something. And the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce endorsed me because I am the candidate that will work to keep Kentucky on the path to prosperity. So again, I ask you for your vote on November 6th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, candidates. Voters, you'll be choosing between one of these to represent the 61st District. Thank you all for being here. Our next office will be sheriff. We have two candidates, Brian Maines and Rick Kells. We will begin with opening statements. Mr. Maines, you have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
I'd like to welcome everyone, thank the Chamber and the newspaper for putting this on. My name is Brian Maines, for those of you that don't know me. Lifelong Grant County resident, married, my wife Heather. We have 3 children. We reside in Williamstown. A little bit about myself. Been with the Sheriff's Office for 13 and a half years now. It's where I started my career in law enforcement. I've made it my passion to learn every aspect of the Sheriff's Office. I've worked patrol, I've been in the Fugitive Task Force, I've worked K-9, promoted to sergeant and appointed chief deputy in 2015. I've made it a passion to learn every aspect of it. When it comes to a sheriff's office, it's not always about just the law enforcement. It's about taxes, being a part of the community, and just learning every aspect of the taxes, and that's all. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Kells, you have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rick Kells, and I'm 55 years old and a native of Grant County. I've been married to my wife, Paula, for 19 years, and I live in Williamstown. I'm a veteran of the United States Army and have worked in law enforcement for 25 years. I have law enforcement experience with agencies outside the county, Williamstown Police, Grant County Sheriff's Department, and I'm currently the Chief of Police in the city of Dry Ridge. And I can work with peers and elected leaders to address pressing issues in our community.
All right, we'll get started with our first question. Mr. Maines, this is for you. Drug abuse is a major problem in the community. How do you feel is the most effective way to tackle this issue?
Well, I think one of the things we've started in the last year is educating the youth. I'm a big advocate of teaching these kids at a younger age the troubles and the bad that's surrounded by drugs in the community. And I think if you get to the youth, you won't see as many problems. You're not going to get all of them, but you'll be, if you can save 10 out of 500, you've done something. I think that's the one way to start. Obviously, have units working undercover if the budget would allow. At this time, the money's not there, but in the future, I would like to see something like that.
Mr. Kells, same question. Drug abuse is a major problem in the community. What do you feel is the most effective way to tackle the issue?
As law enforcement officers, we will make inquiries into suspected criminal activity. We will take the appropriate enforcement action. At the same time, we will uphold an individual's constitutional rights.
Okay. Mr. Kells, this question's for you. Without additional funding for more deputies, in what ways would you propose with current staffing of the sheriff's office to make more of a presence in Grant County, especially the northern and southern ends?
There's no reason that the sheriff and the chief deputy cannot be in a uniform and out here taking calls alongside of his deputies.
Mr. Maines, same question. Without additional funding for more deputies, in what ways would you propose with current staffing at the sheriff's office to make more of a presence, especially in the northern and southern ends of the county?
One thing I'm wanting to look at right now is changing the way the shifts work, try to have more units out during the busy times and in the busy areas. When you think about your manpower as a whole, for example, we're slotted 13 patrol deputies. Right now we have 12 filled. 2 of them are getting ready to leave for the academy. So we're working with 10 guys trying to cover an entire county 24/7. You got to allow for vacation time, training. There's multiple things. So one of the things I want to get with the guys and try to get together as a team and figure out a way to schedule and have better coverage.
Okay. Mr. Maines, this question's for you. The sheriff is not only a law enforcement officer, the office collects all of the county property and personal property taxes. What makes you qualified to manage such an operation and handle the large amount of money collected from the citizens paying their taxes?
Well, it's something in my chief deputy position I've been doing for the last 3 years. There's over $13 million brought in through county taxes that has to be managed. There's multiple payment methods. There's credit cards coming in. There's checks coming through the mail. There's mortgage companies paying. There's a lot of technology around that. And some of the things that I have done is made it easier for the taxpayer that can't make it to the office during business hours. We've come up with online payments. We're working in the future to where you can do things like pay check by online. That's all.
Okay. And Mr. Kells, same question. The sheriff is not only a law enforcement officer, but the office collects all of the county property and personal property taxes. What makes you qualified to manage such an operation and handle the large amount of money that comes from collecting taxes?
Honestly, the sheriff has 4 responsibilities: tax collecting, election officials, court services, and law enforcement. As far as the taxes is concerned, civilians collect your taxes. I would be more concerned with what is happening after my taxes are collected and who's receiving.
Right. Mr. Kells, this question's for you. How safe do you believe our schools are, and what role can the sheriff's office play in making students safer?
Well, as most of you probably know, I was the first school resource officer in Grant County and was the founder of that program. And I understand completely the concerns parents have with safety of their children in school. And I also know how to work with school officials so we can effectively do this.
Mr. Baines, how safe do you believe our schools are, and what role can the sheriff's office play in making students safe?
I do believe our school systems are safe, but can we do better? Yes. And We have an SRO program. We have one assigned to the high school, one assigned to the middle school. And part of their duties is to go out to the elementaries. They're assigned to, they're kind of broke up between the two and make sure they're secure, make sure they're following protocols. But most importantly is working closely with the board office, the principals in the schools, and making sure their needs are met. And if there is money in the future, add more resource officers to the elementary schools and potentially other districts within the county.
This concludes our questions, so we'll move into the closing statements. Mr. Kells, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
I'm the best candidate for this job based on my experience and commitment. I have a proven record of working with others and can run the office within the budget and within the best interest of the citizens in mind. I've never betrayed the public trust or my badge in 25 years.
Mr. Maines, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, again, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I feel I'm the best candidate for the job. I've spent my entire career at the sheriff's office. I've made it a passion to learn the way the sheriff's office works. I always have an open door. I can't always get around, especially here in campaign season with working every day and then taking calls at night and coming out and helping when I'm needed. But most importantly, I just want everybody to know that I will always be here for you. If you come to my office and want to talk to me, I'm going to talk to you. If you have my cell phone number, call me and I will be there for you. I appreciate your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. You will be choosing one of these gentlemen to be your next sheriff, and we're going to take about a 10-minute break right now so you can stretch your legs. And we will come back with our judge executive candidates. If everyone will take their seats, we'll get started again. We get everyone seated, please. Our next candidates are for Judge Executive. We have Chuck Dills and John Brent Threcold. Gentlemen, we'll get started with your opening statements. You'll have 2 minutes. Mr. Dills, you can start.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the Grant County News, the Grant County Chamber of putting this event on. I want to thank everyone in the audience for attending the meeting and to be informed of the candidates that's running for office. My name is Chuck Dills. I've born and raised here in Grant County my entire life. In that I graduated from Grant County High School in 1983. I'm married to Sarah Dills. We have 5 children, and we currently live in Williamstown at this time. My career spans back the last 30 years. I started a career with Dry Ridge Police in 1988 in law enforcement. And in 1994, I left the Dry Ridge Police Department to pursue a career with the Grant County Sheriff's Office with plans to run for sheriff. And I was elected by the citizens of Grant County in 2006, and I've served 3 terms as your sheriff. I just appreciate that everyone gets out and votes on November 6th, and I appreciate everyone's vote.
Mr. Threcold, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you, Jamie. My name is John Brent Threcold. I'm seeking your vote for County Judge Executive. First, I'd like to thank Jamie for moderating the Chamber, the Grant County News for creating the event, and the Williamstown Schools for hosting the event, and the teachers that I had when I went to high school here, wherein I graduated in 1981. They gave me the foundation to be here tonight. After I graduated from law school, I dispatched for the Williamstown Police, went to Northern Kentucky University during the daytime, dispatched at night. I got my law degree from Ohio Northern University College of Law in 1990, was admitted in Kentucky and Ohio by examination in 1991. I'm married to Kim, who's made it here tonight, even though we have a sick child at home. I appreciate her being here. I've practiced law here in this community since 1991. I'm running for Judge Executive, and I would appreciate your vote on November the 6th. Thank you.
We'll get started with our first question. Mr. Dills, this will be for you. What problems, if any, do you see with the Grant County Detention Center, and what would be your plan of action to help fix that problem?
Well, the greatest problem has been over the years is just infrastructure issues, management issues. We've got a new elected jailer to take office on January the 7th. I feel confident. I know this individual that's going to be our next jailer, that he'll take care of a lot of the issues that are administrative issues. As far as the deterioration of the property itself, a lot of it's been fixed in the last few years. The biggest thing is just evaluating the jail's infrastructure with the current jailer when he takes office in January, and determine priorities of what needs to be done first.
Okay. Mr. Threcold, same question. What problems, if any, do you see with the Grant County Detention Center, and what would be your plan of action to help fix those problems?
Well, we have 90 seconds to answer this question, and that's a question that will take longer than 90 seconds. If you get your hands on the Department of Justice reports, you will see that we have a lot of problems in the Grant County Jail, not only the infrastructure in the jail, but we also have problems with the way the inmates are being treated. I know Mike, and I hope he will solve that problem. But the next problem we have with the Grant County Jail, depending on whose numbers you use, the jail's number of 200 state inmates or the DOJ reports number of inmates, this county loses between $511,000 and $868,000 a year because we are doing business with the state. The state pays us $31 a day to house an inmate when it costs this county $38 and change to house an inmate. For one of the first things we need to do is renegotiate those contracts with the state, so at least they are paying 100% of the cost to house their inmate, plus all the medical expenses that are being incurred housing those inmates, so that burden is taken off the citizens of this community.
Next question, Mr. Threkel, we'll start with you. What role do you believe the county should play in providing or helping fund EMS for its citizens?
I believe EMS is a public safety issue, but prior to Dry Ridge entering the field 17 years ago to operate an ambulance, which the citizens of Dry Ridge has learned is a costly endeavor, it was owned and operated by Mary Lee Willoughby as a private business. One of the questions all the voters need to ask themselves, why should we as the citizens of Grant County pay to operate an ambulance? Because none of us are subsidizing St. E to have a hospital over on Barnes Road. None of us are, the taxpayers are not subsidizing St. E physicians. I think we look at Section 162 and 163 of the Kentucky Constitution and the case law thereunder, and we will learn about issuing franchises so that the people that want to do business in this community pay to do business in this community. We learned the hard way as the workers of Grant County that the county can tax us for the privilege of doing business in this county. I think that we need to exhaust all avenues of funding for an ambulance service if we're going to get into that field before we decide we are just going to write a check to some other agency. Thank you.
Mr. Dills, what role do you believe the county should play in providing or helping fund EMS for its citizens?
I believe that we need to sit down, I've said this all along, sit down with all the entities that's involved, the cities, the county with the fiscal court, and look at all avenues with AMR, the city of Dry Ridge, see what's most feasible. And I've said all along, this is a partnership in the county. We definitely need EMS for our citizens. It's a public safety issue that we can't do without, and we definitely need to fund it. If the county's funded or looking at AMR, but these are definitely things that the court, along with the city, and it's definitely a partnership that needs to be made amongst all entities.
Mr. Dills, this question will start with you. What is your stance on the occupational tax that was passed by the current fiscal court? And if elected, would you try to eliminate the tax? Why or why not?
Okay, the payroll tax that was put in, as everyone here, no one wants to pay taxes. I also pay that payroll tax, but it's been lowered from the 2 to 1.5% and should be shortly lowered to the 1%. But what's happened over the last 20 years, the revenue is depleted from the county, not because I believe of wasteful spending. This has gone on for years. It's just the infrastructure of the county's deteriorated. The jail was built in the late 90s, around 1998. The units of the air conditioning that we've all read about in the papers that needed replaced, along with the a lot of the mechanical issues of the jail is now over 20 years old. We've got the same issues with our courthouse and other infrastructures of the county that has deteriorated. So all the money that was set aside on used as revenue that came in and was reserved has been depleted to try to repair all these entities to put them up in safe, sound conditions.
Mr. Threkel, what is your stance on the occupational tax that was passed by the current fiscal court? And if elected, would you try to eliminate the tax? Why or why not?
I'm not going to sit up here and make you all any promises that I don't think I can keep. I'm not going to tell you that we'll reduce the occupational tax. We got that 2% tax, but our current elected officials didn't use that tax for what they alleged it was going to be used for. They used it to expand budgets. They didn't use it to make improvements to the infrastructure on that jail. As of January of this year, we still owed $6.5 million on that jail, which causes a $484,000 debt service per year just to pay off the debt on that jail. What we need to do is sit down and make sure that our budget is balanced, use that occupational tax, not necessarily to buy new things, but to make sure that our roads are properly paved, properly maintained, so that we don't have rim-breaking potholes in the roads, and take care of the infrastructure, because at some point with good roads, people are going to want to build houses here. We work with all of the other entities, businesses will come. As they come, the income of the county comes, and then at that point, we can work to reduce that tax, if not eliminate it. Thank you.
Mr. Threckle, the Ark Encounter has been open for more than 2 years now. In what ways has the tourist attraction brought change to the county, and in what ways can the county better capitalize on the tourism it is bringing here?
Well, as we see from the ARC, right now Grant County is building a new, or not Grant County, but there's being built a new hotel in Dry Ridge. That hotel in Dry Ridge is a pretty much direct and proximate result of the ARC being here, so the people will have a place to stay. But is there any real great impact from that ARC? It sits out there with a 15-year TIF and isn't paying any taxes into this community. And as you look around, just ask yourselves, have you seen a difference in this community in the 2 years that the ARC has been here, other than the state finally got around to moving the mountains at the exit 154? Those are the things that the ARC has done. The ARC has the ability, if we capitalize on it and build and try and work with the developers, change planning and zoning to make it easier, reduce the red tape so that developers will want to come here, corporations will want to come here and do business in this county. That's how we capitalize on the ARC. Thank you.
Mr. Dills, same question. In what ways has the ARC brought change to the county, and in what ways can the county better capitalize on the tourism that it has brought here?
I think the ARC has been a positive change for the county. I've said all along, it's going to take at least 3 years, if not 4 years, for studies to be done. In today's time, financial institutes don't loan hotels and restaurants money unless they know that the attractions are going to stay and be here. And I think that the numbers are coming through with the ARC, that there's a lot of people going through $1 million a year, and that with those studies, we're going to start to see the additional hotels. I know currently, and as anybody knows, when they go especially to Dry Ridge to eat, it's hard to get into the restaurants. The restaurants in Dry Ridge and also the hotels are staying booked. It's hard to get a seat in the restaurant, and all that revenue is coming to our county based off that ARC being here. And I believe that our tourism will be increased from that ARC, and we're going to see, as Brent said, they're building a hotel. It's supposed to be a second hotel in Dry Ridge at that same location. We're going to start to see some restaurants, and hopefully it will bring the downtowns for Dry Ridge and Williamstown mainly back together once all this infrastructure is built around it.
Mr. Dills, what is the one item or thing you'd like to accomplish if elected before the end of your 4-year term, and explain how you would make that happen?
Just one item?
You've got 90 seconds.
Okay. I mean, there's several things. I want to bring back the communications to the county. I want our fiscal court meetings to be a pleasant place, that when the citizens, as you are here, want to speak at our meetings, you can speak throughout the meetings, but raise your hand as you would in any other professional type meeting. I want to televise our meetings where it's open to the public to see it from home for people who can't make it out to our meetings. I just want to have an open relationship, as I have the last 30 years as sheriff and in law enforcement, with the community. That everyone's welcome to our meeting, that we have a good relationship with our court, and that all lines are open communication between the judge exec's office and the public.
Mr. Threckle, what is the one item, if elected, that you would want to accomplish before the end of your 4-year term, and explain how you would make it happen?
One of the things that I would like to see return to the Grant County Fiscal Court is civility in general. Judge Funk's here. He will tell you that lawyers in the courtroom, everything is very civil. Everybody listens to the judge. Most lawyers, other than me, listen to the judge and follow those rules. And that's the key to it. Civility is left. Civility is left politics. People say mean things to one another in politics. But as the county judge executive, what I would really like people to say at the end of my 4-year term is, we had a county judge executive that treated each and every one of us with dignity and respect, that he listened to our questions. If we couldn't answer the question at one specific fiscal court meeting, we would attempt to have an answer for him at the next regularly scheduled fiscal court meeting, so that all the citizens can be engaged, their voices can be heard, because if we listen to the citizens and we listen to the paid professionals that come before us, that's how we learn to make this county better. Thank you.
Mr. Threckle, What is Grant County's greatest asset and what is Grant County's greatest challenge?
Grant County's greatest asset is the citizens of this community. I was born and raised here. Every citizen in this community will lend a helping hand to another citizen of this community and oftentimes others in need. That is our greatest asset. Our biggest problem is the contracts that the county has entered into previously are costing the citizens of this community a substantial amount of money. We need to revisit those contracts with the state. We need to revisit contracts with cities so that we, the citizens of Grant County, aren't paying other entities for the privilege of doing business with them. We've looked at it backwards. They should be paying us for the privilege of doing business with us, not the other way around.
And Mr. Dills, what is Grant County's greatest asset and what is Grant County's greatest challenge?
Not to copy off of Brent, but it is the citizens of Grant County, and it's also the employees of the county. We have some excellent employees that work for the road departments, the parks, animal shelter, the sheriff's office, and they are our assets along with the citizens of our county. I think the greatest hurdle is getting our businesses in, our industrial parks. And I think that working with the chamber and you, Jamie, also to try to motivate some of these businesses and factories to come to our county. We've got locations to put them. We're getting closer. They're starting to move south of Boone County towards our direction. And I believe that we can lobby to get some of these businesses there, but it's going to take all the entities, all the cities from Crittenden to Corinth and the county to work together. And I believe elected that I can work with every one of those individuals to get this job done.
We'll move into closing statements now. Mr. Threkel, you'll have 2 minutes to make your closing statement.
Again, I would like to thank everyone who came tonight. I would like to thank Mr. Dills for his police service in this community for all those years. I know that it was a hard, thankless job, and I appreciate what he has done for us as the sheriff. But this election is not about yesterday, which is complete with its mistakes. It is about tomorrow. We should learn from our mistakes from yesterday in order to move forward. This is neither a Democratic nor a Republican solution. It is a Grant County solution. That's what it ought to be. We, the citizens of Grant County, need to learn to work together to move this community forward. That is, all the agencies that the county judge would oversee, the fiscal court would oversee, need to work together, talk to each other, prioritize how we are going to do things. The road department, which should be complimented, put forth a road plan this year to schedule road maintenance, which is necessary. But we also understand that there may become emergencies that will change that plan somewhat, but certainly we need to start to plan for the future, to change planning and zoning, to make it easier for developers to get their changes, that they don't have to wait 6-8 months to get things done. If you look at the way Grant County is zoned, the bulk of it is zoned Ag 1. Then you get the industrial sites in Williamstown and Dry Ridge. What we need to do is improve the planning and zoning ordinance, make it conducive for businesses to come. Again, my name is John Brent Threkel. I ask for your vote on November the 6th. Thank you.
Mr. Dills, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Again, I want to thank everyone for coming out. What I'm wanting to do is, and I'm going to go back on history, I'm wanting to use the last 30 years of my career here in the county. Not only have I been in law enforcement, I've also been committed to our organizations in the county. Just a little bit about my history. It's not about what I'm going to do, it's what I've done. In the late 90s, when our schools were threatened by school violence across the United States, I wrote grants to get school resource officers in the schools way before a lot of other schools were doing it, which is to protect our schools. I've built partnerships across the state. I've served on state boards like Kentucky Association of Counties. I've served on their board. I've served on the board of the Kentucky Sheriff's Association. I was elected statewide by these boards. I was appointed to Kentucky Law Enforcement Council. And for us to get things done in this county, we've got to make those connections and networks with our neighboring counties, with our state. Whether you like those politicians in certain offices in the state, if we want anything for Grant County, you've got to have a working relationship with them. And I've got a history and a reputation. I can get along with people. I think anybody that's dealt with me over the last 30 years, whether you like me or not, I'm fair, I'm honest, my integrity is the best part of me, and I will go out 100% to get this county in the right direction. We've got deteriorating roads that need to be repaired. I've got plans of getting our own paver where we can buy our blacktop in bulk so we can pave more roads, we can save money doing it. I've got plans to work with the animal shelter to expand it to full service without an additional cost to the county. I've got plans to work with our county road department, evaluating their needs. They've got vehicles that the floorboards are rusted out of. These vehicles need to be replaced. They need to be safe on our roadways for our employees and for us to get our jobs done on our roadways. I'm going to work closely with the jail. As I said.
Thank you, sir. Voters, you'll be choosing between one of these two candidates for your next judge executive. Thank you, candidates. Our next candidates are magistrate for the 1st District. We have Jacqueline Riley and William Billy Hill. We'll begin with our opening statements. Ms. Riley, you have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
Okay, just checking. Thank you. Good evening. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Jacqueline Amer Riley. I'm a lifetime resident of Grant County. I grew up in Dry Ridge on a farm raised by my parents, Jeff and Darlene, alongside my 3 sisters, Jennifer, Ashley, and Brittany. I am fortunately married to my high school sweetheart, Stanley Riley. This past summer, we celebrated 13 years of marriage. Stanley is a master barber in Dry Ridge, where he cuts hair alongside his father in their shop that has been open in our community for over 23 years. Stanley and I reside on our farm that we purchased over 10 years ago. By God's grace, him and I are blessed with the opportunity to raise twin boys who are now 2.5 years old, named Brody and Boone. My children, your children, and grandchildren are my reason why I'm involved in this community and seeking re-election. Simply put, my family and friends in this community are my why. From an educational standpoint, I completed my undergraduate degree from NKU, where fortunately I had the opportunity, because of some citizens in this community many years ago, to complete classes at the Grant County Center. Later in 2002, I went on to complete my master's in business administration with the emphasis in human resources. From an employment standpoint, I was employed at the Grant County Detention Center as a high school business co-op, and later went on to continue full-time at the detention center. I never quite knew back then when I was younger how I would draw upon those experiences at the jail, but I could tell you over the past 4 years, I'm very thankful for those experiences and having the basic foundational knowledge on how a jail works. For the past 12 years, I've been employed as a human resource manager at the world's largest consumer goods company in the world, Procter & Gamble.
Thank you. Mr. Hill, you have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
Thank you, Jamie. First off, I would like to thank the Grant County Chamber of Commerce, the Grant County News, and Williamstown Schools for allowing us to have this forum. And of course, you for being here and putting up with all of us. My name is William Hill. Most people call me by Billy. I grew up in Gallatin County, graduated in 1973. 1976, I married my high school sweetheart. 1977, she was killed in an automobile wreck. Shortly thereafter, I moved to Grant County, mainly because some of the friends that I had made playing a lot of softball. I am married to my wife, Paula Colson Hill. We have 2 children, Jonathan, Jana. My daughter is married to State Trooper Joshua Witten from Kentucky State Police Post number 6 in Dry Ridge. They have 3 children, which are my grandchildren, Layla, Lucas, and Leah. Anybody out there that's grandfathers and grandmothers know how special it is to have grandkids. My work experience, as I said, I graduated in 1973. I went to work in 1973.
I've been the water district manager for Corinth Water District for the last 30 years. In that time, I've also been the mayor of the city of Corinth for 18 years. Also on the E911 Budget Committee as being their secretary for 19 years. I was the chairman of the Lake Williamstown Expansion Committee for 6 to 7 years until we found out that people didn't want to go along with us. At this time, I am a member of Corinth Christian Church. I sing in the choir. I'm also a soloist. And every once in a while, I supply preach to anybody that wants to hear me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get started with our first question. Ms. Riley, this is to you. What role do you believe the county should play in providing or helping fund EMS for its citizens?
Great. That is a great question. As many folks know, that's been a hot topic. And we are in a unique situation as a rural community where we have a for-profit agency providing ambulance service, which is AMR, that does not cost our tax dollars a dime. However, we also have a city providing half of the service to the county, and their budget is, probably close to $1 million plus spent on tax dollars from a city standpoint. I definitely think the county should play a role in taking the bull by the horns and identifying from a plain sheet of paper, what is our strategy, Jamie, for this topic? Because financially, many folks question whether or not we should use tax dollars for ambulance services when each of our health insurances, of which by law we're all supposed to have health insurance now, would also cover an ambulance ride to a hospital. And so I definitely think we're at a crossroads, and where I would like to start with this as far as being, if I'm reelected to serve in this position, is to continue the discussions with the city of Dry Ridge and with AMR to identify if there is a partnership, a stipend cost of some sort, or, the other option, clearly, folks, is a special taxing district, and, petition that for the ballot and let the folks decide.
Thank you. Mr. Hill, same question. What role do you believe the county should play in providing or helping fund EMS for its citizens?
EMS, ambulance service, of course, is a necessity. We have a lot of older people in our area. We have a lot of people who depend upon the ambulance. We have a certificate of need, at least 1, 2, maybe even as much as 5. Right now, I know that there is an ambulance in Corinth. I know there's an ambulance also in Crittenden. Now, they are not fully staffed. They are staffed by volunteers the majority of the time. My belief is this: it's just like anything else. If you want to run ambulance service, give me a figure and tell me how much it's going to cost. It's just like request for bids for anything you want to do. If you want to do it, let me have your bid. If you don't want to do it, stay out. There's no two ways about it. We have to have it. Taxing district, I don't want any more taxes. I think we've been taxed enough and we're taxed every day. It is my opinion that once you get everybody working together as a cohesive unit, not only the fiscal court people, not only the mayors, but have town hall meetings where each individual person can actually see exactly what's going on, not what somebody wants to tell you. That is my position on the ambulance service.
Mr. Hill, this question's for you. Why should the voters give you an opportunity to serve on the fiscal court?
As a fiscal court member, you're 25% of the voting. 25% may not sound like a whole lot, but if you work cohesively, as I just said before, you can get things accomplished. I believe that I've had enough people to urge me to go forward. And at this time, I would like to ask for their support again. But the idea of a fiscal court member is not just to go to meetings. It's actually to drive these roads, see what's going on. As a mayor and a manager of a water district, I can tell you, I drive these roads daily. I know where they're at. I live and I work in Grant County. I will be here for you. I believe in honesty, integrity, and common sense. And that's my position.
Ms. Riley, why should the voters give you another term?
I seek reelection to continue to serve this community because it's simple. I remain passionate about those that live, work, play, and learn here. I have been actively involved in this community for over 17 years. I have served on various clubs and organizations, donating my time for zero pay, but because my heart is in those, in the belief of those organizations, whether it be Fitness for Life around Grant County, where I serve currently as the chair of the Work Ready Initiative, where we're striving to improve the workforce in Grant County. In addition to that, as your current magistrate, like Mr. Hill, I drive these roads. It's not just about attending county meetings. It is about being involved in your community and being accessible and being someone that can openly communicate respectfully and professionally with people. And I feel like I've done that despite many obstacles and hurdles within this current administration. Some other things that I think are important is connecting with other elected officials and utilizing your resources, because not one person has all the answers, but together when we collaborate and we openly communicate, we will come up with the best solution. And so I seek the desire to continue to represent you and be your voice within District 1.
Okay. Ms. Riley, this question's for you. What is your stance on the occupational tax that this current fiscal court, which you're a part of, passed? Would you try to eliminate this tax moving forward? Why or why not?
Jamie, I took a road trip to Frankfort with Magistrate Coldiron to figure out exactly how we were going to keep this county afloat, because the reality, the lifestyle of the past 12 years caught up with us. I supported implementing the occupational tax, but not at a 2%. I did not vote yes on the 2%, but I will tell you, I was more within the 1.5 to 1.75 because I contacted the largest employers, the school systems, Dana, Toyota, those businesses here to get a base on what to expect from an occupational standpoint. But when you look at our roads and you look at our infrastructure and you look at the large cost of what the jail requires, which is about 1.8 million, subsidizing that budget, we need that occupational tax. But one thing I could promise you is to work hard with establishing a plan on how we will spend those dollars and get Grant County back up to where it needs to be, and then get that occupational tax lowered. The clause that is put within the ordinance today is when you reach $1 million in savings, which there's $500,000 there, but I am very optimistic. We've got to get these roads addressed. We've got to get road equipment purchased, that amount will lower to the 1.5. But for anyone that sits up here and tells you they're going to abolish that tax, they're crazy. Because cost of living has went up, but there's been no additional revenue in this community the last 18 years or so.
Thank you. Mr. Hill, same question. What is your stance on the occupational tax that was passed by the current fiscal court? And if elected, would you try to eliminate the tax? Why or why not?
First and foremost, I would not eliminate the tax. Now, that may come to a shock to a lot of people because I hate taxes. I pay taxes every day just like the rest of you. But at 2%, I believe was too much. It still has not been lowered past the 1.5%. I believe with prudent spending, getting meetings with each department head, scrutinizing the budget, making sure the jail and its staff does what they're supposed to do, the road department does what they're supposed to do, then I believe you can go back to 1% and still make it. It's not going to be any frivolous things, but there does need to be cuts. Where? I can't tell you that right now. I am not privy to the books, but I will guarantee you one thing. When I get in there, I will be privy to the books, and we will go from there. Honesty, integrity, and common sense. That is my position.
Mr. Hill, this question's for you. What do you feel is the county's biggest asset, and what is the county's biggest challenge?
The biggest asset is living in a rural community, even though we have some, very large cities, not very large in contrast to Florence or Cincinnati. But we have people who
enjoy each other's company. We have people who really does not mind to work. We have people who lend a helping hand. You cannot find that in a lot of places. That is our biggest asset, is our people. We have to tap into the people and find out what they want. If they want something and you can possibly do it, then why not do it if it's feasible? Our biggest detriment at this point, and you all know what it is, it's the drug problem. That's all there is to it. How do you get the drug problem taken care of? I wish I had that answer. But I know one thing that they need to do. They need to bring God back in schools. They need to make sure that we have the Lord's Prayer. Make sure we do pledge allegiance to the flag. United we stand, divided we fall. But I believe united we stand, divided we fail.
Ms. Riley, what do you feel is the county's biggest asset and what is the biggest challenge it faces?
I definitely think, without a shadow of a doubt, our biggest asset is the people, the ones that we call our neighbors, our friends, our customers at our small businesses, the students that our kids go to school with. So without a shadow of a doubt, our people are our asset. I'll add on there, I think our second biggest asset that we have going for us is our location. The I-75 corridor goes down, through our county. And from a proximity standpoint, location plays a key role. We are still a bedroom community, and including myself and many others, we commute elsewhere, but we come back home to share our talents, and we come back home to share the money that we earn and spend them in our communities here versus living elsewhere. And so location and people are two main assets. I think our biggest challenge that faces us is, now that we have some stability financially, is prioritization and planning. I will petition to the next judge executive, should I be elected, that we do some strategic planning, because we have our work cut out for us on where we're going to choose to spend our dollars, whether it be to help address the drug epidemic, or to fix our roads, or to purchase the necessary equipment, or to get the courthouse operations within the 21st century with an electronic PO system to improve our checks and balances. We still have a lot of work to do, and I definitely think we need a plan.
Okay. We'll move into closing statements. Mr. Hill, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but hasn't this been fun? This is fantastic. But I do want to thank everybody for making it important to come out this evening. As I said before, I've been here for 37 years. At least I've been married to my wife for 37 years. Now, there are times this sounds a whole lot more than that, but most of the time it's been fantastic. 2 years ago, I had a liver transplant. I'm just glad to be here, to be honest with you. But you have a choice. Everybody has a choice to vote for the person that you want to be able to help you get what you deserve. Number one, I believe the roads in this county is pitiful. They needed to be addressed months ago, years ago. We have a road in the southern end of the county going across a railroad bridge that's ready to fall down. It's on Blanchett Road. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. If you travel it, please be careful. They have told us that it's going to be taken care of. They told me that 2 years ago to mark all my water lines and so forth. I'm still waiting. Now they tell me it's going to be the first of the year. So I'm still waiting. When you go around these roads and you can't see around the roads what's coming at you, that's not good. I believe more than anything else, as I said before, united we stand, divided we fail, and that's all there is to it. And I will bring honesty, integrity, and common sense. And I ask for your vote and support on November the 6th. Thank you.
Ms. Riley, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Voters of District 1, I humbly ask for your support and vote on November 6th as I desire to continue to serve our community as your magistrate. It's no hidden secret, it hasn't necessarily been fun over this past 4 years, and at times it's been a little discouraging and difficult to even get anything done. Over the course of the past 4 years, frankly, I've been bullied, cussed at. Information has been withheld from me that necessarily should not have been, but I'll spare you those details. But I could share with you this. I am proud that I stand before you this evening with the grace of God that I've never given up for standing up for what is right. Despite the reality at times that the courtroom has been pretty chaotic, disrespectful, and embarrassing. And some of our accomplishments that we have actually been able to achieve together have been overlooked due to the negativity that's been casted over this community. Leadership starts from the top and can make or break any environment, which includes local county government. I am definitely a stronger leader today than I was 4 years ago. I remain optimistic that there are brighter days in Grant County, and that as other elected officials are selected for the positions on the ballot, that those folks will also choose to come to the table and work respectfully together to address our challenges, to establish a game plan, and focus on what our largest priorities will be in order to move this county forward. I will remain actively involved in this community as I have for over the past 17 years and accessible to you, the taxpayer. You can check my phone, you can check my email. I'm on it probably a little too much at times. It is simple. I've never given up on you during the talent challenges that we face. I seek your support because I remain passionate about this community, about those that live, learn, work, and play here. I am a professional. I have a strong skill set and an unprecedented work ethic that I believe serves this community well. I humbly ask for your vote and support.
Thank you. You'll be choosing one of these two candidates on November 6th. Thank you, candidates, for being here. Our next race is for Magistrate 2nd District, and Ms. Shauna Coldiron is with us this evening, and our other candidate, Ms. Wanda Hammonds, could not be here this evening as she was deployed to Florida for her work, but we are going to read her opening and closing statements tonight because she indicated she would have been here had she not been in Florida for work, and then she's going to be given an opportunity after the forum to answer the same questions that Ms. Coldiron will be asked, and those will be published side by side in an upcoming, probably next week's issue of the Grant County News, in fairness to both candidates. So we welcome Ms. Shauna Coldiron with us tonight. Thank you, Shauna, for being here. We will move into the opening statement, and I will be reading Ms. Hammond's statement. Good evening from Panama City, Florida. I'm Wanda Hammonds, candidate for Magistrate District 2, proudly serving Dry Ridge, Sherman, and Jonesville. I'm absent from you this evening due to being deployed to assist with disaster and medical relief with Hurricane Michael. The plan for me is to be home very soon, and with your support, serving as your next magistrate and continuing my public service in a different manner, working for you. Public service is a calling, not a career. That's why I expected the challenge in serving today, and also why I chose to place my name on the ballot in November. As many of you may know, I served as your magistrate on the fiscal court before from February 2013 to December 2014. It was an honor to represent and work for the citizens of the 2nd District. I'm up for the challenge and ready to serve again, this time for the entire 4-year elected term. November 6th is Election Day. I humbly ask for your vote and support, and let's be the change for Grant County. Thank you, Wanda Hammond. Now, Ms. Coldiron, you'll have 2 minutes to make your opening statement.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay? I'm Shauna Coldiron, the magistrate incumbent running for re-election in District 2. I want to thank the Grant County Chamber of Commerce, along with the Grant County News, for sponsoring this forum. And to the citizens, I appreciate and thank you for your attendance. My hope is that this forum provides you with adequate information to know your candidates better and assist you in choosing the best candidate for this position. I value being honest, qualified, and committed in serving you as your magistrate. I was raised in Grant County and went to school in Grant County. I'm married to Steve Coldiron and have 2 children who also live in Grant County. I truly have a vested interest in my hometown and its future. I am a conservative and attend the Sherman Church of Christ. I enjoy children and youth and continue to work in these areas on both a personal and community volunteer level. It has been an honor to serve as Grant County's Magistrate District 2 over the past 4 years. Being a magistrate provides an opportunity to serve my community using my skill sets acquired over the past 41 plus years of work and educational experience. I value honesty. Being honest in fiscal matters is crucial. Telling one what they want to hear or not telling at all prolongs the agony, is counterproductive, and not results oriented. It goes along with being transparent and respectful. Unfortunately, the lack of thereof has been a hindrance under the current administration. Needless to say, I do look forward to continue serving as your Magistrate District 2 under new leadership. I believe I am the most qualified candidate for the position. I graduated from Northern Kentucky University with a bachelor's in organizational studies and an associate of applied science, business administration technology. I obtained a business.
Thank you. We'll get started with our first question, Ms. Coldiron.
Okay.
What role do you believe the county should play in providing or helping fund EMS for its citizens?
Well, amazing. Who would have thought that would have been a question that come up? After attending yesterday evening's forum, I don't know if we are any closer to a resolution on this issue than we were a year ago. As I say, I like to be honest with you. Based on the Williamstown Mayor Council Forum comments, they are not willing to provide any endowment to Dry Ridge. And on Crittenden Mayor Council Forum comments, they would either opt for providing their own ambulance service or favor a countywide service ambulance program. Dry Ridge Current's proposal is dependent on the monetary commitment and cooperation of both of these entities along with the county. As far as a county-wide program, which I assume is some form of a special taxing district, that would be a decision that would be decided by the citizens of Grant County. In saying that, I do not foresee or want any more tax burdens being placed on the citizens of Grant County. At yesterday's evening's affirmations, it is imperative that Dry Ridge Council reevaluate their situation and come back to the county's new leadership with some discussion. And relishing over all of the information, there still remains unanswered questions. If Dry Ridge is able to provide only one half of the service to the county, who and at what cost provides the other half? If Crittenden opts to have their own ambulance service, do we now have duplication of services, which in turn causes Dry Ridge to see
Thank you. Second question. Why should the voters give you another term on the fiscal court?
I think I've stated that and I'll continue. I feel I am honest, I'm qualified, and I'm committed to this position. As far as being honest, as I wanted to continue, needless to say, I look forward to continue serving as your Magistrate District 2 under new leadership. I believe I'm the most qualified candidate for this position. Let me go on further. Serving as your magistrate since January 2015, coupled with my budgetary knowledge in managerial and financial accounting background and executive administrations, has proven to be a major asset to the magistrate's position. And I will tell you, I am committed. I have proven commitment on record. I spent relentless hours going over budgets. I deciphered the budgets for my own. As you remember, we were a per green new fiscal court coming in. So I had to study myself and I learned myself. There's even times that I recall that, and if you will recall, there was a 2 a.m. fiscal court meeting that I stayed to help analyze reductions in the budget during fiscal court crisis. I only missed 2 meetings, inclusive of special meetings in a 4-year term.
Next question. You were part of the current fiscal court that established the occupational tax in Grant County. If you were elected to another term, would you vote to eliminate the tax? Why or why not?
I would not right off vote to eliminate the tax. There's too many conditions that are called for there. First of all, I would like to get it down to 1%, as we said. We have some really challenges that will contribute to keeping the payroll tax. First is we've got a significant demand on our road systems at this time. We are experiencing significant costs to our county roads because roads were entered into the system years ago that were not up to code, so they are deteriorating. Also, we're experiencing many slippages across county roads, which FEMA will not pay because it is not in a crisis. Just for example, we do have a road now that is slipped that the repair cost can run anywhere between $75,000 to $110,000 to a road budget that is very, very significant because the municipal aid funds are very, very down in the road budget coming from the state. And in addition to that, that road that slipped, that road is a half-mile road and serves 2 consumers. To me, that's almost $55,000 a resident in Grant County. The road was voted in and we have to fix it. That's the experiences and the high dollar value that we are experiencing in this county. And also, there has to be some kind of operation and cost control over the jail.
Thank you. What do you feel is the county's biggest asset and what is the county's biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge and asset?
Yes.
Well, definitely the people. Place we live along the I-75 corridor is our biggest challenge. Excuse me, not challenge, is our biggest asset. And again, our biggest challenges are to reduce that payroll tax. I want it reduced. The second challenge is keeping up with the road system. And the third challenge is getting that cost reduction and control under control in the operation and maintenance of the jail. Right now, the jail we are subsidizing each state inmate by approximately $11.47. That means Grant County is paying $11.45 to the state to get to house their wonderful prisoners. Now, that's not right. That money should not come out of Grant County funds. Either the state is going to have to up the ante, or we've got to come up with a solution to get this under control. As of right now, too, the general fund has appropriated $1.8 million out of the general fund that's going to go to the jail this year. The costs are rising. Salaries 1.8, medical contracts 643,000, food service 425. It goes on and on. Costs are rising, and we have to get this under control. And these are our challenges.
We'll move into closing statements. You have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Take all of it up and shuffling papers, aren't I? No, as I say, I want to reiterate that I'm passionate about this fiscal court. I love this fiscal court, and I love working for Grant County. As I stated in my opening, I value honesty. I believe I'm totally qualified and committed to this position. Though the past 4 years have been very challenging, to say the least, I believe the current fiscal court has positioned Grant County for a better tomorrow. It is my desire to stay the course, ensuring effective decision-making while maintaining integrity and transparency. Again, thank you to the Grant County News and the Chamber of Commerce, and especially you, Jamie, for moderating tonight. It's always enjoyable to be around you and your positive attitude.
Thank you. This is Ms. Hammond's statement, closing statement. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share from my deployment and for attending this forum. Your attendance shows interest and excitement in the upcoming election. It's been a joy working with our supporters on our campaign. Folks have made phone calls, drove around with magnets on their cars, walked and knocked on approximately 2,000 doors, and talked to the neighbors about this local election. When I served as your magistrate before, I put my heart and soul into serving others. Being magistrate requires a minimum of 99 hours per month, and that is very difficult working a 5-day-a-week job. I only work my regular job 2 days a week, therefore leaving me the time to serve as your magistrate. I would be honored and proud to represent you again as your next magistrate on the Grant County Fiscal Court. I pledge 4 years to be direct, clear, honest, and transparent on issues to real solutions to real problems. I'm willing to look at all angles of complex matters, honesty and taking responsibility, and being humble in challenging times. I'll bring my passion and professional aptitude for leadership, respect, and support for everyone. Please do not take this election for granted. I need your votes. I ask for your continued prayers and support as you cast your vote November 6th. Hammonds for Magistrate. Safe travels as you head home this evening, and I'll see you very soon. Blessings from Florida, Wanda Hammonds. Thank you. Voters will be choosing between one of these two candidates. Thank you, Shauna. And last, but certainly not least, last on the evening, magistrates from District 3. We have two candidates, Mr. Roger Humphrey and Mr. Bobby Young. Gentlemen, thank you for your patience this evening. We will start with our opening statements. Mr. Humphrey, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank everybody for sticking around tonight. I know we're last, but I appreciate everybody sticking around tonight. My name's Roger Humphrey. I'm a Republican candidate for magistrate here in District 3. I live right in downtown Crittenden, in the hometown that I was born and raised at. Lifelong resident. Retired from law enforcement here in Grant County for 30 years. I live there with my wife, Jennifer. Between us, we have 5 children and 9 grandchildren. I've chose to run for this office because I want to make a difference. I want to be a voice for the people and do what's right for the people.
Okay. And Mr. Young, you'll have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
All right, thank you. Thanks for everyone for staying around tonight. I am Bobby Young, and I've been married to my wife, Jacqueline, for 29 years. And I'll go ahead and say this as well. She was really young when we got married. Jacqueline's a teacher there at Sherman Elementary in Grant County School System. Alexander's my oldest daughter. She's also a 2nd grade teacher. And Courtney Joe is a junior at the University of Cincinnati. I'm majoring in computer information systems. And I'll go ahead and say this as well, always on the dean's list. I've graduated from Thomas More College, where I played 2 years, played baseball, was captain for 2 years, NAIA All-American, member of the Thomas More College Hall of Fame. Fortunate enough to play professional baseball with the Pittsburgh Pirates. After that, currently work with the largest foundry in the United States, covering the state of Kentucky, Southern Indiana. After that, I was magistrate for 8 years here in Grant County from 2007 to 2014. Was on the fiscal court and served proudly as that, and looking to get back on the court. One thing I do want to say is I appreciate everybody staying around, and thanks for your time.
We'll get started with our questions. Mr. Humphrey, we'll start with you. What role do you believe the county should play in providing or helping fund EMS for its citizens?
The county definitely needs to be involved in helping come to a solution on the EMS situation. This can's been kicked down the road too long. It's time to bring it forth and end it. We need to get solution for this. You hear so many people saying, well, the county needs to pick this job up and be the EMS provider. People don't realize on EMS provider and with the Kentucky retirement system, if you're going to have these county employees running an ambulance, you're going to talk, in addition to their salary, another 75% of their salary is going to go towards retirement alone. Is that something the county can afford? I don't believe so. I really don't. I think we need to work together with AMR, City of Dry Ridge, City of Corinth, City of Williamstown, and City of Crittenden, and some private individuals all come together as a committee to find out what we can get to make it work. Contact other areas our size. See what works for them. Why reinvent the wheel if they found a solution that works for them?
Okay. Mr. Young, the same question. What role do you believe the county should play in providing or helping fund EMS for its citizens?
Yes, thank you, Jamie. I know that's a hot topic around Grant County. Currently, we have City of Dry Ridge providing ambulance and fire service to the city of Dry Ridge, and we have AMR that covers the county as well. One thing we can't jump into is we can't jump into making a big decision on, hey, we're gonna start up a new ambulance service, because it costs a lot of money to do that. What we need to do is get together as a group, determine with our resources that we have, the money that we have, and take a look at what AMR has to offer and what the city of Dry Ridge is willing to offer. Because yeah, do we need more? Absolutely. But with more comes a lot of cost. And I'm not one to put the burden on the taxpayers more than it already is. So yes, there needs to be something done, but I agree that we need to get together as a group, because I'm just one vote on the fiscal court. I've got 2 other court members as well as a judge that we have to talk about this, and maybe we can come up with a decision.
Mr. Young, this question's for you. Having previously served on the fiscal court, why should the voters give you another term on there?
Thank you, Jamie. Well, one thing I can say, I did serve for 8 years on the court, and in those 8 years, I missed four meetings. 3 of those because of a death in the family. So, and the other one was work related I couldn't get out of. So, with my experience on the fiscal court, I worked on 8 budgets. I balanced 8 budgets. I not only balanced 8 budgets, I didn't put any burden on the taxpayers by raising their taxes. I also have the contacts with Department of Justice that I made contacts with. I have contacts at KCO, contacts at Department of Local Government, and I'm still in contact with those people today, even though I haven't been on the court for the last 4 years. Those people became my friends in a short amount of time, because I knew if you need something done, you got to know where to go to get it done. So I still have those relationships. So I feel like my experience being on the court from 2007 to 2014 would definitely be a plus. Jump right into this seat as a magistrate and move forward.
And Mr. Humphrey, why should the voters give you an opportunity to serve on the fiscal court?
During my years in law enforcement, working for City of Dry Ridge and also with the county, and I'm currently a sitting council member with the city of Crittenden, I worked on line item budgets every day. Every day I worked on these line item budgets. Never went over, never had to cash CDs to make our budget balance. Those 8 years, CDs were cashed. I've got it here black and white. CDs were cashed to make budgets look like they were fine. Folks, we can't do that. This fiscal court that's sitting here right now, they were left with $414,000. Everybody says they was left with $1 million. Yeah, they was left with 900,000, but 500,000 was immediately due for payment on the jail. So they was left with 400 and some thousand. I can cash CDs every day and keep a balanced budget that way. Is that the way you all want to do? You're the folks that pay into it.
Okay. Mr. Humphrey, this question will be for you. What is your stance on the occupational tax that was passed by the current fiscal court? And if elected, would you try to eliminate it? Why or why not?
At this point in time, without sitting down with the rest of the fiscal court members at the judge exec, I don't think I could ever say, yeah, I'm going to eliminate it. I think that would be very premature. I think we need to look at our budgets. We need to look at the line items. What's that money bringing in? What are we putting out? Can it be reduced? If it can be reduced, I'm for reducing it. Can it be eliminated? If it can be eliminated and this county survive, I'm for that also. But at this point in time, without sitting down and looking over every line item budget, I can't make a decision on that here.
Okay. Mr. Young, what is your stance on the occupational tax that was passed by the current fiscal court? And if elected, would you try to eliminate it? Why or why not?
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. I know this occupational tax hit a lot of pocketbooks. I know it hit us as well because my wife teaches in the school district here. A lot of teachers were upset that this tax was put on. Now, one thing I do know is in my 8 years of preparing the budget for Grant County, we always did have a balanced budget. What I do know is we only have X amount of dollars coming in and we only have X amount of dollars going out. And I have seen the budget and I have seen where the money has gone over the last 4 years. And I feel from my side of the table, now I'm just speaking for me because like I said earlier, I've got 2 more magistrates and a judge to convince, but I think there's places where we can tighten our belts. I think there's places where we can make a current budget balance without raising the taxes and putting the burden on the folks in Grant County. One thing I can say is, do I want to eliminate the tax? You better believe it because that's going to put money back in the citizens of Grant County's pocket. but what we need to do is find a way to balance that budget with what we have.
Mr. Young, this question's for you. What do you feel is the county's biggest asset and what is the county's biggest challenge?
You know, I think that the biggest asset for Grant County, and I'll say this, I've been here 25 or 26 years, and Grant County is a good place to live. Grant County is a good place to raise a family. I think the biggest asset's the folks of Grant County. Anywhere you go, people have heard of Grant County. Oh yeah, you're near Florence. Absolutely. We're between Florence, Cincinnati, and Louisville. We're in a great area to grow. Grant County has a great asset with the interstate running directly through the middle. Grant County has great opportunities to move forward. What we've got to do is cut some ties and make a decision to allow Grant County to grow. So that's one thing that I would look at is bringing new businesses to Grant County for tax base. That way the burden won't be on the local. People traveling through might have to pay a little bit more, but when I travel, I pay a little bit more as well. So that's one thing. Our biggest asset are the citizens of Grant County.
Biggest challenge?
Oh, and part two, biggest challenge is probably, I'll make it quick. She's giving me 30 seconds. I think our biggest challenge is the budget. I think there's places we can get the budget and balance the budget. Now, I understand there's issues at the jail, and there always has been, but we have a new jailer coming in. I'm going to sit down with the jailer. I'm going to sit down with the other magistrates. I'm going to sit down with the new judge. There's things that we can do to help Grant County be put back on the map to be at the county that it should be.
Okay. Mr. Humphrey, same question. What is the county's biggest asset and what is the county's biggest challenge?
Biggest asset, in addition to the people, is our location. We have Interstate 75 running from one end of the county to the other end of the county. We have US 25 running from one end of the county to the other end of the county. We've got a major railroad running from one end of the county through the county. We have everything but a river here. Okay, we have some great folks here in this county. We need to bring all those assets together, work with the Chamber of Commerce, work with the Northern Kentucky Area Development District, work through the governor's office, and work through the people who have supported us. Congressman Massey supported me for this election, and I appreciate that very much. Let's reach out to him. What can you do to help us? I think you'll help us.
Okay. We'll move into closing statements, and we'll start, Mr. Young, with you. You have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Yes, thank you. I do again want to thank everyone for staying as late. And for those of you that were here last night, we're getting out a little bit quicker. So one thing I do want to say is I do have the experience. I do have the education. I do have the background to serve on the fiscal court. I do ask for your vote on November 6th. I do ask that you do one thing, is you pick your candidates. And once you pick your candidates, go down individually and look for your candidate and vote for that candidate. Because I'm going to be at the very bottom. So if you start at the top, you got to go all the way down to the bottom to find me. So I encourage you to look for me on the ballot, Bobby Young, on a Democrat ticket. Regardless of your party, you get to vote for whoever you want to in a general election. Some people are confused. I had a lady tell me the other day, she says, I'm not registered Democrat. I said, well, you got to think, in the general election, you get to vote for whoever you want to. So I'm down on the bottom of the ballot, look for everybody's name, go down to Bobby Young. You can skip everybody else. Look for Bobby Young and give me that X, and I want to be your next magistrate in the 3rd District. Thank you very much.
Mr. Humphrey, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement as well.
Again, thank everybody for sticking around tonight. I think it shows that people of this county are concerned for coming out here and sticking around for this. I know it's getting late. Again, I was born and raised this county. The Humphrey name's been in this county for 125 plus years. I've served this community. I have served everybody in this county to the best of my ability. I want to continue to do that, and I can't do it without your vote. I'm a member of the Crittenden Baptist Church, the Phoenix Masonic Lodge, recently inducted as a lifetime member in the Kentucky Association of Chiefs of Police. Great honors. It's a great honor to be here tonight. It was a great opportunity for me to run for this. Win or lose, I'm still a winner just for having you people here to listen to me tonight, and I thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone in our live audience as well as those who will watch this later on cable. Candidate profiles have been published in a special election section in this week's issue of the Grant County News. This forum will also be rebroadcast on Williamstown's local access channel, which is channel 16, and on Spectrum channel 186 on Saturday and Sunday for the next 2 weekends. Last night's forum will be featured on Saturday, and tonight's forum will be featured on Sunday. And they can also be found on Williamstown Cable's Facebook page. The forum will also be rebroadcast on Cincinnati Bell, channel 825, and on the City of Dry Ridge's website at cdrky.org. I want to give a special thank you to Roy Osborne and Dale Caskey, Joe McComas, and Todd Hammonds with the Williamstown Cable Department, Brent Tank Cummins from the City of Dry Ridge and his crew, all of the volunteers who assisted us this evening, Misty Middleton, Todd Dupin, Brandy Fagan, and the staff of Williamstown High School for allowing us to use the facilities. As a reminder, it is important for each and every citizen to exercise their right and privilege to vote. I come from a long line of military men who fought for that right for us to vote. So I would like to remind you of that in the upcoming November 6th election. Those elected will set the course for Grant County for the next 4 years. Every race is very important and every vote really does count. Thank you all for coming out tonight. On behalf of the Grant County News and the Grant County Chamber, we appreciate you being here and participating in our forum. Good evening.